Hi, my name is Tami Friday. I'm an animal communicator and I help people and pets connect. I had a wonderful interview with Nyisha and we talked about my healing journey, navigating through chronic illness, following Anthony William, aka Medical Medium Principles, and also how I developed the animal communication services that I do today. So we talk about the trials and tribulations of if you're going through any health ailment, health condition, and also if you're trying to find your soul purpose and what your purpose in life is. And I finally found mine. And so we talk about that in the interview, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to this interview with Tami. I'm so excited to have you all here. Today, we're going to be talking about Tami's soul aligned business. It's medical medium aligned. And just a little bit about me. My name is Nyisha, and I'm a medical medium health coach, and I'm also a somatic yoga instructor. And I'm going to be making some courses coming up soon. I've got some things in the works. I will be sharing them as they unfold a little bit. So that's a little bit about me. And let's just go right over to Tami. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it. So I'm very excited to share my journey and just so all of us can be like one big family in a way. That
Yeah,
I think my goal is that we're not all alone. We have each other. So yeah. So
I
happy to
love
be
that.
here.
And that's what these groups are all about. And that's why I wanted to do these interviews because not only do I want to help people share their business, but yeah, it's just, I see your name and we might text a little in the groups or whatever, but it's
Hmm.
different when you see somebody's face and you have an actual conversation. And so for us to get to know each other, but also for other people that are watching to get to see who you are. And so that way, when you guys are talking in the groups, there's more of a connection. And I
Absolutely.
think that's so important because a lot of us are just, especially in our own houses, even there's people who are the only ones in their houses that are doing this, that are learning this information. And it's not just the food and the lifestyle, but it's the mindset that changes because as you learn more of the truth, other truths will just start to come to you. And then you end up being I think it's a whole paradigm shift that ends up happening to you. And then if you're the only one that it's happening to you in your vicinity, it can be very alienating, you know?
Absolutely. It's like doors open too. I feel
Yeah.
like when you start exploring medical medium information and get some ahas and you start just going on that journey, that's at least how it happened for me. Just doors start opening and paths start to become clearer. Eventually, sometimes it might seem muddled at first, but as you keep going and to feel not alone, I think, because sometimes if you're have any sort of illness, injury, whatever you're going through, especially if you're the only one in your family or your group of friends, sometimes that can feel very alienating, very different. I've gone through that where I feel like just the odd person out. I'm bringing my food to like Easter. Everybody's eating their ham and whatever, and I have my little cooler of like cleansed foods, and to have to be okay with that. And luckily, my family is supportive, but not everybody has that support. And so if you don't have that support in your immediate family or friends, there's these communities and people like you and even me to like reach out to feel not alone. So yeah.
I think that's important. So that's a good segue into, maybe sharing a little bit about what brought you to medical medium, and then also if you have a how you found medical medium story.
Sure. Yeah. So I had really debilitating migraine headaches. I've had them since like high school, like once or twice a year. And over the years they got really, really bad in probably like 2000, I'm trying to remember 13, 14. Very debilitating. Probably at its worst, it was like 14 migraines in a month. And I was just trying to struggle. I was an occupational therapist at the time, working in a hospital setting. And really just struggling and was on multiple medical leaves. I had a neurologist and I was finding that like the medications and things weren't really helping me. And some of the medications were actually making me sicker, having brain fog from one of the drugs. I could barely do my job. And so I thought there's got to be another way to heal from this what could it be? And I think like a lot of people maybe that are on this journey, if you're going in one direction and you're not really getting the success that you want, you either give up or you try to find another way or another and another and another until you finally land on something. And so I kind of opened up to holistic things like naturopathic medicine, and a lot of people give me advice. Maybe people get that, like, try chiropractic, try Reiki, try craniosacral try all these things. A little overwhelming, but I did end up one of the things that probably was a little bit life changing for me was stumbling on Reiki. I had a nurse practitioner, or PA, I should say, recommend Reiki. And I'm like, why not? Let's try this. And that, my first Reiki session, I felt, I just felt something with that. And the person who did the Reiki said, you can learn Reiki and you can help work on healing yourself. And I thought, well, sign me up. I'm doing whatever I can do. So I took classes to learn Reiki, practiced Reiki on myself, and then I started to be interested in, okay, I already working as occupational therapist. How can I incorporate Reiki into my work with other people? And I would say, at least for me, the Reiki wasn't like it cured my migraines or anything, but it maybe opened doors for me, helped me maybe emotionally handle some of the challenges with it. And I feel like doing that sort of work just kind of opened doors such that, gosh, maybe a couple years later, as I'm getting sicker, but trying, my dad had a friend, and his friend had like fibromyalgia or something like that. And he was telling her about how I'm just struggling with the migraines. And so she recommended, at the time, his first medical meeting, his first two books were out, the like Secrets Behind Chronic and Mystery Illness and his Life Changing Foods book. So my dad's like, bought them for me. He's like, here, maybe this will help. And
Yeah.
I almost didn't read them right away because I had so many people recommending things, this and that. And I eventually tried a whole bunch of them, and some were like, it's overwhelming. It was overwhelming to me. Like, I can't do everything. I don't have the money, the resources, the time to do 100 different things. So I almost was like, I actually think I told him no at first. I'm like, you know, but something just drew me. I'm like, why not? If they're just books, okay, fine. Get them for me. I'll look at them. And as soon as I started reading, I just I just gobbled it up. It just made his writing just made so much sense. It was simple, despite my medical background. Like, it just made sense. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is what I needed. I felt like I had a voracious appetite for it. I read both of those books, and I started to incorporate a little bit of the tools. I couldn't do like the cleanse at that time, but he had like the 28-day cleanse in there. I couldn't incorporate that into my work schedule. There's just no, I can't be in a hospital and graze and, eat raw. I just wouldn't work. But I did, like, I got rid of no foods. I stopped eating eggs, and I did little things like that. And that helped a little bit. But if you're familiar with some of his, what medical medium says, he says it's, what moves the needle. So it moved it a little, but it was still very difficult. And so I continued on, and kind of segueing into that. Um, I was realizing with occupational therapy, I had this situation where I was getting ready for work one day, and I was, in the shower, and I heard this voice kind of in my mind's ear, if you will, that said, if you continue to work at said hospital, it will kill you. And I was kind of like taken aback, but I knew it was true because I was getting sicker and sicker with these migraines and just feeling crappy. And I thought, well, what do I do? Yeah, the seed was being planted. I need to get out of that setting. And I did end up, I was barely clinging to my job anyway with multiple medical leaves. And I ended up going into home care. And I was starting to realize occupational therapy just isn't my thing. It's just not my calling. The settings weren't for me. And meanwhile, I was getting more interested in like the holistic approach, like Reiki. And I was learning something called craniosacral, which is like a body work. And, you can release emotions through releasing tissue, that sort of thing. And I thought, I'm going to open my own business and someday, and do those services. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to work, my OT job, start this business on the side. And then once I grow my business enough, I'll leave traditional OT settings. Well, what ended up happening was I ended up getting really sick, and I I could barely work. And it was just really stressful for me to constantly call my doctor, like, I can't go in. I had patients I was responsible for. I have to keep pushing them off and canceling appointments. It was just really stressful time. And I wasn't really focusing on my healing. I was just trying to survive. And I talked to my dad at the time and I said, Dad, I'm just really struggling and can you help? And by, I was very fortunate. He decided to support me financially so I could just quit that OT job and just focus on my health. And I'm so grateful to that because then I could just not worry about like calling in and what am I going to do with my patient schedule and pass it off. It was just very stressful.
Yeah, that's a lot of
So
stress, just that part of it, trying to scramble.
yeah, absolutely. And I was pretty sick at that time it was the migraines and also fatigue was starting to come in. So I know maybe a lot of people can relate to you may have one ailment, you may have 100, as I learned more about medical medium, I was like, oh wow, that's related, like acid reflux and this and that and all these little things, like they're all something going on. And I guess I was concerned with just the migraines. I thought it was all separate. So for me, migraines and fatigue were just getting really, really bad. So when my dad said, I'll support you that way, it was like a weight lifted off. And so I could just focus on my healing and just work on my business. I was so sick that I could maybe handle one client a week, if that. So, but at least I could just do that. I could do whatever I could handle. And about that time, I
What time,
believe
when was this? What year was
this
this?
was like 2018. And
Okay.
so I believe I know thyroid healing book had come out. I believe the liver rescue book of medical medium started to come out. Whenever the liver rescue book came out and he had his original 369 cleanse, I thought, you know what? I'm not doing anything. I'm working 1 day a week, not much. I think I can start to try to incorporate this cleanse. Let's just try it. What else am I going to do? And so that's what I did. And I did the 369 over and over again. I had the luxury, I would say, of just being able to lay in bed and do nothing if that's all I could do. And I did them, oh gosh, 9 months at a time, cycles just over and over and over again, and slowly started to heal more and more. And then my challenge was, well, now you're having more energy, Tami, but how do you incorporate doing the cleanse with more energy and more busy, having more clients and, traveling and just doing life for so long. I was just not doing much. I was starting to like hang out with friends again and, get out there, but I couldn't handle the, maintaining being on the medical medium tools so much while also doing those things I wanted to do. So what ended up happening was I went off the cleanse and I just started my health started to drop over time. And meanwhile, as that's happening, you know, with my business, I'm doing the craniosacral Reiki for people and also doing distance Reiki and energy healing with people and animals and things like that. And so that was starting to unfold while this is happening. And I started to get information from animals during sessions. So, like, I remember one time I had this dog, and the dog was showing me this image of like a grassy hill with a tree. And I'm like, that's interesting. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to share it to my clients. I did an energy healing with the dog, and I'm just going to share that. And so I shared it. I'm like, I just got this image from your dog. And she's like, well, that's interesting because that's actually where he is right now. And she sent a picture of her dog, and sure enough, he's or she. I always, it's she, but he's got masculine energy anyway. So this dog is like laying on the grass on this little hill with a tree. I was like, that is crazy. So I started to receive that information more and more from animals and I would say dabbling in it. And all this time, while I'm working on healing, I'm also just developing, I guess you could say, like intuitive abilities, psychic abilities. I was taking classes more in craniosacral in psychic development, mediumship, animal communication, all these different things. Um, and so meanwhile, I'm struggling though with my health because I decided I'm going to do the busy things. I'm going to work more. I'm going to play more. And I couldn't stick to the cleanses. I'd start them, stop them, start them, stop them. And probably by the time 2022, the summer of 2022 came around, I I didn't feel very good. And I was, it affected me more emotionally because I was able to get healthier, but then it was like taken away from me. And a second time, I guess you could say. And for anybody who heals, we always want it to just keep improving, 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 right? And when it drops, it's like, oh, it just really hits you. And it hit me. And I felt very depressed and very jaded and didn't feel like I had a purpose either. I'm like, what is my purpose in life? I'm just laying in bed, fatigued and things like that. Like, what is the point of living in a way? I was very down. I started to utilize more and more of medical medium tools, not only like the physical ones were hard with the cleanses, but I started to incorporate his meditations, like on his podcast or in his books, praying to the angels and things like that. Around that time, I believe his brain saver book started to come out, and then he had his brain shot tools. And I thought, I could whip up some brain shots once in a while. I might not be able to do a full cleanse, but let me do that. And I was really drawn to his finding your purpose stabilizer brain shot because I felt purposeless. I just felt like all I was doing was being sick, and maybe that would help me. And I made that shot. Like, I think I had 3 shots a day for like 7 days. I was just really drawn to do that. So that's what I did. And shortly thereafter, nothing magical, happened immediately, but I don't know what the time frame was, weeks, maybe a month. I had this session with these 2 cats. So this person reached out and she said, my cats have been fighting for a couple months. Can you do some energy healing with them over distance? Maybe that'll help. And I said, I can give it a try and see. And for the first time, I thought, I'm going to try some animal communication and find out why they're fighting, see if that will be helpful too. So I connected with the cats and I said, basically was like, why are you fighting? And they said, well, it's really stressful at home. There's just a lot of changes going on and it's stressing us out. We're just taking it out on each other, the stress. And so then I offered them energy healing for that stress and just calming the nervous systems, that sort of thing. And I told the client, I said, this is what I'm dabbling. I said, I'm dabbling. This is what I got with the animal communication. And she said, yeah, there are changes. She had a lot of changes. Like, I think she changed jobs and had to rehome another cat. And there was a lot of stuff going on around that time. So it really resonated. And I felt like the cats just being heard, something happened with that. Because I think they were surprised, like, oh, they're being heard by somebody. So what was a turning point for me is the very next day, that client sent me a photo of these 2 cats snuggling. And,
Wow.
they'd been fighting for months. And just to see that, oh my God, like it just brought so much joy to my heart and like realizing just the power of animal communication, for the first time, like, you know, animals have these perspectives and feelings and thoughts, and to be able to tap into that to help them and then help their people. I thought, this I love to do this. I want to do this more. And the little bit of the purpose was coming there. I shouldn't say a little, a lot, like so much so I was just like, I'm gonna just change my whole business. Like, I'm gonna practice the animal communication, get better at it, and shift out of doing the cranial psychotherapy and Reiki for people and just shift to online working with animals, a little bit dabbling in person too. And that's what I did. I learned, I read books, I took classes, and I offered tons and tons of free sessions just so I could practice. And what's interesting is all like when I was an occupational therapist and stuff, nobody ever told me, Tami, you found your calling. Nobody ever said that to me. But I've heard that many times with the animal communication, and it resonates, and it makes sense because I feel like I finally, found that purpose. It just really lights me up like nothing. And I really feel that finding your purpose brain shot really kind of helped catalyze that. Just all the tools together. Um, and in fact, I even use his other brain shot, the Speak Your Truth stabilizer shot. I think he, in one of Medical Medium Lives, he talked about that brain shot can help you with telepathy. And that's exactly what I'm using when I'm connecting with animals is telepathy, where you're, connecting into your mind to mind, heart to heart, soul to soul connection. So, and as I have clients, if things come up, I'll kind of step outside the animal communicator suit or the energy healing suit and just say, here, if you're open, if the person seems open to it, here's some medical medium tools that may help, or run it by your vet, whatever. Because I try to incorporate as many medical medium tools for my animals as well. Like I know he's got like a podcast out there, a pet podcast. If anybody hasn't found it, you can Google on his look on his website, and any live I'm like that I listen to, I'm listening for any tips for animals,
Yeah,
even
I
for
wish
my
you would have
own.
an animal book. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh my God, I would love an animal
Love an
book.
animal book. I think the spiritual book may have some animal information in there.
Oh my God.
Don't you feel like when you're helping people heal with their animals, it's really they're healing themselves as well because it's just such a people have such a connection with their animals. It's such a I love all of that. That's such a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And animals, my dog, especially, like when I was on Mattress Island many times, when if my spouse is working or whatever, like my dog is right there, there for me. And he's been with me through this whole journey. And there's something about a connection that we have with our animals that they really are with us, you know, even if your family isn't supporting you, or if your family is supporting you, or if you feel disconnected from the world, there's something about being with your animal that just helps you feel like you're that connection, even maybe even more so, because they're there with you, and they're it's like that unconditional love and that
And they're
bond.
natural telepaths too, aren't they? All animals are natural telepaths. So even if you aren't realizing that you're receiving, you are. And
Absolutely.
they're always communicating with you that way and letting you know that they love you and feeling what you're feeling. And yeah, they live right alongside of you for sure. I have 4 pets, so I
Oh,
know.
absolutely. And I think a lot of people, we all have that. I feel like we all have that ability to connect and understand our animals. It's just our ability to practice and listen. I felt like animals are always telling me, including mine. It was just my ability to listen. And there are many times with clients where they'll be like, I think they're saying this. And it's like, yeah, you're right about that. You're like, don't distrust yourself about that, because you're right. I think it's something that we innately have the ability. It's just not really been promoted in our culture to, we it gets like, oh,
We
you're
poo-poo it. We're like, oh, well, that's probably not really true. But like I would say pretty much 100% of the time it probably is if you're
exact.
catching, and sometimes you don't realize it till you look back and you think, yeah, actually that was true because then, you know, and you just, yeah, we're not taught to trust that in ourselves. We're so caught up in the physical and, the science of things, but there's this whole other world. And that's one of the things that I love about medical media information too. Excuse me, as it opens you, like I wasn't as open to this kind of thing up until when I first started getting into medical medium stuff. When I first read the book, I mean, I kind of was, but I was probably that average person where I was like, grain of salt, whatever. But now I live in that world, and I would have never have been able to say that before. And I think it's because we're seeing all of this. Well, we're trusting SOC and we're trusting all this information. We're seeing it work. And then as we heal, and even if we're not physically healing as fast as we want to, or, we're not at that, place that we think we're going to get to, just the process opens up so many doors. And then I'm hearing, sometimes the illness process is what is the catalyst to make you find your purpose. Because if you never got sick, you would probably still be doing occupational therapy and you wouldn't be getting
uh
like
you're right.
rich in this rich experience of life that you're having now and helping people so much and animals and everything. So it's not that we're happy that we've been sick, but I mean, I'm kind of grateful for my own issues because I would be a completely different person right now. I used to be a hairstylist. I would probably still be doing that. And it's funny, the more interviews I do, the more I realize like we all have such similar stories. Like my story, I'll explain it later in another, maybe somebody will interview me and I'll talk about it, but you'll see that we have a lot of parallels. It's very similar.
That is so interesting. It's so wonderful. Yeah, you're right. And it does open different doors. It does definitely take you on a different trajectory. And and you're right. And maybe if this helps other people who are going through things, it does, at least for me, help me discard my shoulds and how life should be, could be, because I just couldn't. I had to like shed all of that and then rebuild almost from a new paradigm, a new shift. And that was in a way freeing because I had
Yeah.
like I couldn't do it the other way. You're right. I would have been an occupational therapist and miserable and not even realizing, wait, I was starting to learn, especially with fatigue, when you have limited energy, and I would say a lot of different ailments where you have these little bursts of what you can do, you really start to prioritize what's most important. You start to not waste time because you have little energy or little time where you feel well. And so what feels good and what is more in alignment with you starts to really come to the forefront. And all the little things that they start to not have the importance that maybe they once held. And I think that journey does help us to get more into alignment with who we are. And what's neat about medical medium information too is I feel like you can step in if you're open enough to at least read it. You can go where you're at. Maybe it's just the physical stuff. Maybe you're like, you know what? I don't really believe in the spirit of compassion and all that weird stuff, but what else am I going to do? So I'm going to try to not eat eggs. I'm going to try the celery juice. I'm going to try these things. And you don't have to believe in anything, but just try it. And if you start to find, oh, well, I do feel a little bit better. Oh, this is helpful. Well, maybe it opens the door to some of the other things that he does have to offer. And like you said, like I
That's
became
exactly
more
what I did. That was me. I was like, well, but I'll try it. And
right,
then
because what do you have to
it went.
lose? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was studying all kinds of natural healing stuff, and kind of the same thing that you were. And I just thought, well, but I did have same thing as you as well. When I was reading that first book, I was on vacation when I found the book, and I had it on Kindle, and I was just like drinking the information because having studied, I don't have a medical background, but I have a background. I was into like, you name it, I studied it and I probably try it, from macrobiotics way in the beginning in high school, all the way to just, everything. And I remember reading it and just, even though I was like, kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, but I called myself like a realist. Like I live in the world. I'm a realist. It has to be, like a thing. I have to be able to hold it. I was that person because I had been brought up the other way. I'd been brought up with meditation and so I went, I think you just rebel from,
Yeah.
when you're a kid. And now I just did a full circle and now I'm like, oh, I was on the right path back then, but I guess I had to walk away from it. But it just woke my everything up and just threw all the doors open, over the years. And I was that exact person. So it's fun when you see people and you start to see that happening with somebody else. You can recognize it and you say, oh, I remember going through that.
Right.
I mean, it still happens. Like you think you've kind of opened all the doors and then another one opens and you're going, whoa, what's behind this door? Like, and
Absolutely.
it's just a constant, it's exciting. It's exciting.
Absolutely. And like the Reiki, because I used to be more like science and it had to be logical, make sense.
Yeah.
And the Reiki was like, well, again, like why even I'm at rock bottom in a sense, so why not? And to open up to that opened the door into, oh, well, this is helpful. And I don't understand how it works or why, but it is helpful. And, being more open-minded with that, I think allowed me to be more receptive to the medical medium information. I might have totally disregarded it if it went the other way around. I don't know. But that's why I feel like sometimes it's neat the way when you look back on your life, you see the way doors unfold and one door makes you more prepared for something else, and just kind of you just move along. And I almost feel like our ultimate end goal in a sense is to just be in alignment with who we are, discover who we really are, not who we think we should be or who our parents told us we should be or society tells us who we should be. Who are we and what are we meant to be in the world, and what are the gifts we are meant to share with the world? And and medical medium is like, I guess, a testament to that. He has a lot up against him, but he just keeps sharing the information, sharing that truth. And it's inspiring. It inspires me. He all his information, and he's getting out there all the time, just sharing, going against the grain with this consistent message, um, over time, that is in and of itself healing. There's just so many tools that, even if just the physical tools, you don't eat eggs or you do celery juice, then you start, oh, what's this angel thing, or what's this meditation? I can do a meditation. Oh, wow, that actually helped me. I mean, I think I actually have my 3 stones. He's got the collecting
Oh
stones
yeah.
meditation, and I it helps me. Like, there's certain emotions I work through, and I'm like, this is powerful, and it's free.
Yeah.
As he
Yeah.
says, free, free, free. So yeah. So for anybody, listening to, like, just, it's nice to know, like, yeah, these similar stories, or if people can relate. And if you are anybody who is struggling, just to know that you're not alone. And, or even if you are struggling and you see some of the healing stories where, hey, I healed up in a year, I'm not one of those. It's taken me 10 years. I'm still working on stuff. The cool thing is the migraines are gone. I think it's been 9 months to a year since I've had any migraine headaches. I'm still dealing with the fatigue and, like, overweight and some little things. The fatigue's probably the biggest, but it's a journey. And so maybe if I help somebody be like, okay, just keep at it, just, do what you can do the best you can do, and just know that, as medical medium says, you can heal. Like, in his podcast, he'll say you can heal, and you really can. I just wanted to share too, and he has this telegram where he has you connect with your future self, and your future self is like where you're healed, and your future self, you visualize connecting with that future self, where that future self of you is healed and is kind of cheering you on right now in how you are right now. And that's been powerful for me when I feel very alone and being sick. Everybody around me maybe feels okay, and I'm the one that's like, oh, I can't do this, can't do that. And it can be isolating. And I think, you know what? There is myself. My future self is there cheering me on, really understands me, understands what I'm going through. And it's really healing and helpful that way. So just so many tools. Even helps, I guess you'd say, help your connection to God. One of the
Oh yeah.
things medical medium talks about is, I think he said, I work for God. And that's one of the things that I say before every session when I do animal communication or energy healing is, I'm working for God. I'm trying to be of service. I have chills right now when I say that, but, like, I'm trying to be of service here. And that just, that just elevates it, because we're all here for each other at the end of the day. And yeah, so
Beautiful. I love that. So, the one thing I'm sure people are going to be wanting to know is how can they find you to connect with your Reiki services?
yeah, so the best way to reach me is my website. That's TamiFriday.com. Everybody spells my name wrong, so I laugh. So it's
I
T.
always want to put two M's in it too, and
I
I
know.
realized it was right.
Yeah, it's I always laugh. Like, when I used to drink coffee, it's at, like, Starbucks or something. I like, oh my God, they spelled my name right. I don't drink coffee anymore, but it's TamiFriday.com. My sessions are all remote. I do animal communication sessions, phone or Zoom. Those can be helpful for if your animal has, either if there's behavior challenges, or there's changes in your family dynamics, your routines, or maybe you want to know how your animal's doing with the health and wellness. How is a treatment working? How are they feeling? Are they in pain? End of life transitions.
I was so
Do they have any desires or preferences for their end of life? Even connecting in spirit. So I connect with animals who have passed on. And I get clients where maybe they're going through some grief, or, oh gosh, you know, did the ending, what I coulda, woulda, shoulda, and some of that guilt and grief, then they can connect with their dog or their cat, or it doesn't matter what species either. So offer those. And then also the energy healing to supplement. I say energy healing for pets, people, and property. And so, our pets, if they need energy healing, just to support them with whatever is going on emotionally, physically, spiritually. Same for people, like if you have grief or whatever it may be. And then our spaces too. I feel like, if you've ever walked into a room and you're like, ooh, there's been some arguing going on or something, we pick up the energy of the room. And sometimes just being able to clear that energy and uplift it can be healing as well. So all those services, wherever you live, um, if that resonates with you, I'd love to work with any one of you. So
I'm going to be calling for an appointment actually, because I have a dog that's nearing the end of his physical life here. I mean, he's sort of, but we can tell he's getting there. And I kind of know what's going on with him, but I would love to get a check in. So I'm probably going to be making an
I would
appointment.
love that. I would love to connect. Yes.
Yeah, and so everybody, we will post Tami's information in the comment section of this video. Plus, she's in the group too, so you can probably find her and throw her a message here as well.
I was just going to share too, if anybody's interested, I'm on different social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I've just started to share like healing animal stories from sessions. So sessions that like are inspiring to me, or maybe are a message that maybe a lot of us can relate to. I just share little snippets. So if that interests you, whatever platforms you like, see if you can find me on there. And
Yeah,
if you,
we'll post those all of
okay,
them. If you want, post them all
sure,
in the comment section right there so people can just grab them on the link there. That would
perfect.
be amazing. I'd love to hear those stories, and yeah, it's a great thing. And I got to show you. This isn't my one I was talking about, but here's one of them.
Oh, what's your doggy's name?
This is Moto.
Oh, Mona, you're so
He's
adorable.
13 and a half now.
Oh my gosh, you're so cute.
But he's
Oh,
always like, he's like my Velcro. He's right there.
love it, right? And I mean, what a best job in the world that I have. Like I get to, because I connect to animals, seeing them, like seeing a picture or seeing them that way. And like I get to get pictures of animals all the time
Yeah,
and
I
just be like,
know.
oh, I love
That's so
it.
much better than occupational therapy, I think.
Right, than helping people how to put socks on. I mean, that's helpful when you can put socks on or whatever. But yeah, this is way more my calling. So
I can see that it is like when I say full line business, that like what you're doing is the definition of it. Because I can see all the light coming out of you when you talk about it. It's
yeah,
just, I love it. It's very apparent that you are aligned with your higher self, what you're doing. I love that.
absolutely. Yeah, finally took me, I'm at 52. It took me a while,
Hey,
but
you found
you
it.
know,
Some people never do.
exactly. And I needed every little step, the experience in occupational therapy. I have more of a understanding of anatomy, medical background. That's even like therapeutic connection. All those skills aren't wasted. I use all that stuff that I've learned over the years. So,
And the people skills and even
mhm,
just the intaking and understanding, because you have to use a lot of intuition for medical intaking, things like that too. So it's all like you were training kind of without realizing. I don't know if I believe in like a fate so much or whatever, I'm not sure, but I do feel like there's sometimes you can look back and just go, wow, I couldn't have planned that, but that was perfect to get me right here. And even
yeah.
with all the stuff that wasn't so great, you're grateful for it because now you're in this like amazing, fulfilling place.
Absolutely. There's always gems in everything, even the things that we struggle with. There's something always good to be found in it somehow. I found even if in the middle of it, there are times where, oh my God, I'll pray to angel of mercy at times, like when I'm really struggling, or spirit of compassion. I pray a lot and when I'm really struggling, and it's very dark at those times. But when you get through it, when you work through that wave of whatever it is, desperation or whatever, and you come on the other side, then to look back and say, well, here were the good pieces of that and how it did help me. And I try to focus, I guess it's that gratitude thing that people say, you know, focusing on how did something help me, and bring me to a better place than I would have been before. At the very least, at least then I have compassion, if you're going through something and you're like, what's good about this? Maybe it gives you compassion for somebody else that's going through something that you
Oh,
didn't
that
have
is
before.
that is huge, and that's what Soul's Gold is all about. All that whole thing right there is what you're
Yeah, oh
talking
yeah,
about.
spirit of compassion.
And he says, with that cultivation of compassion and experience and overcoming and everything, and just, it's just the gold of your soul. I mean, that's part of it. So, if you have a perfectly easy life here, I don't know if our soul necessarily came for that, right? We kind of all, I
Yeah.
think we came down here for this experience, for everything that it is,
We don't appreciate it. I
good
mean, I
and
think of
bad and everything.
Yeah, like think of when you have the flu. When you feel like pretty good, you don't you just take you kind of take it for granted. You just like, oh, I feel good. And then when you get a really bad cold or really bad flu and you know you can't breathe through your nose or whatever, and then when you overcome that, you heal and you feel better. You're like, oh, it feels so good to not feel achy or to breathe through my nose. Like,
Yes,
you
just like,
know, so those trials make us appreciate when we don't have them too, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Well, it was amazing having this talk, and we'll have to we should come on here again. I'm
I'd
doing
love
all
to.
the interviews, and it's still new to me, but I would love to have check in with you in 6 months or something, and we'll do this again.
That'd
That
be
would be
great.
well.
And I
Thank
want
you.
to visit your place. You live in Kauai, right?
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
know. I
God.
would love to have a meetup over here. That
Oh
would
my
be
God.
one of my things I would love to
My
do.
goal is to heal enough. I did go to Maui like 2 years ago. I couldn't handle the 9 hour flight. I got kind of sick going over there, but it's
Yeah,
you're up going visiting Hawaii again is on my bucket list. And like I want to get healthier again to be able to travel there. So
it's a healing place. Yeah.
oh, it's so wonderful where you live. Like, oh my God. Like I can't wait to magical place.
Well, it was so nice talking with you, and we will talk again very soon.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
so much for
much.
tuning in.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.